Hello and welcome to the News at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities across Scotland. Tonight, the shutdown of Heathrow brings disruption to Scottish travellers and airports. The fire at the London airport means many people are stranded, including much of the Tartan army in Greece, as well as tourists who've been diverted here.
Pretty much at the end of the flight, the guy came on and said, "Hi, we're not in Heathrow, we're in Glasgow." Or we're like, okay.
We will speak to travel expert Simon Calder about your rights also tonight. How experts have unravelled a mystery around Dunfermline Abbey's stained glass windows, and
Like I start off saying, well, I'll tell you this, and then, oh, wait till I tell you. Oh, here, see this afternoon when I was in the Asda, this happened, or this happened.
Still Game star Jane McCarry tells us about her affinity with her famous alter ego and her new solo comedy tour. And of course, we will have all your sport with Lewis. Lewis, what have you got for us tonight?
Well, Amy, it's a special day for Scottish Rugby's national stadium, celebrating its centenary year. We'll hear from a couple of the country's great players of the past.
Looking forward to that. Hello, I'm Amy Irons and welcome to the News at 7. Well, yes, as you will have seen already today, a fire near an electrical substation forced Heathrow Airport to close today, causing disruption to thousands of people. Some flights have now started. Those caught up in the chaos include Scotland fans who were in Athens last night to see their team win 1-0 against Greece. Our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin spoke to a couple from Aberdeen whose connecting flight to Heathrow was cancelled.
So what's the plan if you can't get out of here tonight then?
Party.
stay here another night.
a week, whatever.
There's worse places to be stuck.
Well, the weather, this is about the nicest the weather's been this morning since we came, so yeah, hey, it is what it is. The chance you take when you're travelling.
Well, some international flights were also diverted to Scottish airports. Lorna Gordon spoke to a group of 12 whose New York flight ended up in Glasgow. It's had severe consequences for their trip.
When did you find out? How has your journey been?
We found out pretty much at the end of the flight. The guy came on and said, "Hi, we're not in Heathrow, we're in Glasgow." Or we're like, okay.
And where were you meant to be ending up?
Heathrow.
And then?
And then we were jumping to Helsinki. And then we were spending some time in Helsinki and then go up to Lapland, to the Arctic, so we're trying to get a flight there because we have another flight in another day to get up there.
Are you getting much help? How do you feel about it?
Well, they are trying to give us help, but there's one of the guys here showed us this app because I don't know how to get things online. But so we're just going to get everybody's information and try to get these things and because we have to get 12 tickets.
Well, let's discuss this with Simon Calder, who's the travel correspondent for The Independent. Simon, thank you so much for giving us your time in the studio. I believe it's been a very busy day for you, but just give us an idea of how bad this disruption has been, because you've been across this all day.
Yes, so we are talking about close on 250,000 passengers on over 1,300 flights suddenly finding 3 o'clock this morning their travel plans were torn up. There's 10 flights actually leaving London Heathrow tonight. They're all long-haul flights, and we were expecting none at all, so that's a bit of an improvement. Thomas Walby, the chief executive of London Heathrow, has said it's going to be a full service tomorrow. Well, it isn't. There's some significant cancellations. But once again, we have seen that trouble at Heathrow, Scotland cut off, because it's always the case that if there is problems at Heathrow, then Scottish airports, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Inverness and Aberdeen will suffer. Of course, every airport connected with Heathrow has suffered, but a miserable day. Cost to the airlines probably £100 million in lost revenue, but much more important, the emotional cost to all those people who were just hoping to get to their destination.
I know all the various trips and the big life events. We've obviously just heard an example of some of them. This has just been one day, but as you say, we're starting to see some long-haul flights starting to take off. How long could it take for things to actually get back to normal and just get through the backlog of all these flights that haven't been able to take off and land?
That's a really good point. So we will see the majority, a large majority of the flights out of Heathrow taking off. There are some very long delays if you're heading out, for instance, from one of the Scottish airports via Heathrow to Seattle or to Tokyo. Then you might get a message saying you'll be spending quite a lot of time hanging around drinking expensive coffee at Heathrow. But it's been better than we thought, because initially Heathrow said nothing's going to be coming in or out till midnight. I think that was an abundance of caution. The power kind of came back on around about tea time, and so we've seen flights coming in, mostly such as the aircraft that were here in Glasgow, diverted here from New York, and of course all the airlines, particularly British Airways and Virgin Atlantic, trying to get their flights in the right place, and their pilots and their cabin crew and their passengers, and hoping that things go a bit better tomorrow.
What can people do as well, Simon? Because there'll be people who've maybe been stuck somewhere and they've got all these extra costs that they were not going to expect. Then there's people who maybe work trips or holidays that aren't happening. The cost of this, as you say, emotionally is huge. So what can people do? OK,
well, let's take the straightforward example. I'm in this position. I've got a flight booked with British Airways today. Obviously, it wasn't going to happen. Their attitude, and I don't really blame them for this, is don't call us, we'll text you when we've got a solution. Now, air passenger rights rules are absolutely explicit. The airline has to get you to your destination as soon as possible. And if they don't do it, then you can make your own arrangements, whether that's taking the train to London and hoping you carry on from there, or indeed booking a flight on EasyJet or Ryanair or Jet2 to your destination. And there should be no problem getting that reimbursed. On top of that, the airlines have to provide hotels and meals. Well, of course, this scale of cancellation, they're generally not doing that. So you are supposed to pay and then reclaim those. Those should be okay. The one constituency of people who are not in this position are people who are outside the European Union and the UK, flying on a non-European or UK airline. So that would be Singapore Airlines from Singapore, Emirates from Dubai, United from the US.
Simon, thank you very much for joining us and talking us all through it. Would not like to be the person in charge of trying to sort it all out, but I appreciate all your advice on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So empty shops on our high streets aren't a new sight at all, are they? But new figures show that the rate of retail decline has eased slightly. Last year, 613 new chain shops opened their doors in Scotland, but this came against 860 closures across high streets, shopping centres and retail parks. So although the rate at which shops are closing is slowing down, the high street is still in decline. Here's what shoppers in Glasgow had to say.
I'm actually from Stirling, and even there, I mean, everything's closing down, and I think it makes such a difference to just like the look of the place, and I do think it gives that kind of run-down effect. So I think if you've got the shops open and people are using it, it just makes it such a nice atmosphere. It should be busy and it should be full of life.
This is the first time I've been in the shops for a while, so I'm usually working, so it's a kind of novelty item to me today.
What are you out for?
Just a general look at the moment.
Looking for like shoes or something like that. I feel like that's still easier, but other stuff sometimes I've tried to look for things and I just don't find it, and it's so much simpler online. So I have been prone to just having a look online. I know where I'm looking, where I can find things.
I have just bought a jacket up the road, and I feel as if I've got a bargain, and I could have got it online, but I've actually put it on and fitted, and I know it fits, so I don't have to worry about sending it back. So yeah, I much prefer shopping.
You definitely need to support your shops because it's people's jobs, you know, and if we don't get out and use the shops, we'll lose them.
Well, that research about shop closures was carried out by the professional services firm PwC. We've been speaking to Jacqueline Windsor, who was behind it, and asked her what it tells us about the state of our high streets.
Scottish and indeed all retailers are facing a number of challenges in the short and long term. In the short term, it's all about squeeze on margins. So that is top line pressures given cost of living crisis, subdued consumer confidence. I'm definitely a half full person because at the end of the day, we're social beings, right? We need to shop, we need to play, and it's a way to connect with each other, brands, and our wider communities.
Let's get a roundup of the stories making the BBC News app in Scotland today then. And a 76-year-old man will stand trial next year accused of murdering a dog walker in Perthshire. Prosecutors allege David Campbell, who's pleaded not guilty, shot 65-year-old Brian Lowe near Aberfeldy last February. SNP veteran Fergus Ewing has announced he will not stand for the party at next year's Holyrood election, but may run as an independent. He's represented Inverness and Nairn since 1999. An extension is being sought for the submission of a report to the Scottish Government on proposals to make Galloway the country's third national park. The current deadline is the 28th of April. Well, for more on these stories, you can scan the QR code on your screen now and it'll take you straight to the BBC Scotland News app. Now, if you were watching Reporting Scotland earlier, you'll have seen their piece on affordable homes and the crisis in rural areas, making it difficult for locals to get on the housing ladder. It also makes it hard to attract workers. Businesses in these areas say they're struggling to expand or even maintain operations due to the difficulty employees face in finding affordable places to live. The Scottish Government has pledged funding to help address all of this. Here is the second part of Ian Hamilton's report from Mull.
Mull, on Scotland's west coast, is a place where many want to put down roots and call home. But the lack of affordable accommodation on the island is making it tough for businesses to hire staff.
Behind us is the line where the biscuits are actually turned from a lump of dough into little biscuits.
The island bakery here in Tobermory exports its biscuits worldwide.
We've got just under 40 staff at the moment on 2 shifts. We start work at 6 o'clock in the morning and we bake through till 10 o'clock at night.
Where do the challenges lie in terms of expanding?
Well, I mean, it's difficult, of course, running a manufacturing business on an island, made more so by the lack of affordable housing. We've got plans to expand, but one of the biggest risks we face is being able to then staff it. It's the biggest barrier we have to growth.
Attracting workers to Mull isn't the issue, but keeping them can be.
If young people can't afford to be here and live here, only elderly people can or older people can, then you're going to look into that kind of population, a greying population, and then that has a huge impact for kind of care as well.
Across Scotland, housing is a challenge for key workers of all types. But there are projects trying to tackle the issue.
This is Spinack Moor in Aviemore. We've got 7 key worker homes and then we've got 41 flats that are under construction. The issue with finding homes for key workers is that's really what people are needing, but having houses that's specifically for those people to help support the local economy, to contribute to it and make it thrive is really essential.
Key workers also play an economic role in rural communities.
Once social care disintegrates, then you get the school closing, then you get the community shop disappearing. Social care is not a cost, it's an economic driver to revitalise these communities.
The Scottish Government said that they're committed to delivering 110,000 affordable homes by 2032, with at least 10% of those in rural and island areas. They added that they have targeted money like the £25 million Rural Affordable Homes for Key Workers Fund and the £30 million Rural and Island Housing Fund.
It's not about ownership and accumulating wealth, if you like. It's about a home. It's about just having a safe and secure home to live in.
That was Joe Reid ending that report by Ian Hamilton there. Well, the origin of some stained glass that was returned to Dunfermline Abbey in 2020 has finally been identified. The pieces came from the Abbey's Margaret window, which looks absolutely lovely here, doesn't it? And a box containing 49 fragments addressed to Robert the Bruce was mysteriously delivered during the pandemic. Since then, academics have been trying to work out when they were taken. Richard Forbes has more.
Robert the Bruce was buried at Dunfermline Abbey almost 700 years ago. So staff at the church were puzzled when the postman delivered a parcel for him. Once they'd opened the box, the mystery deepened.
We knew it was stained glass of some kind, but there was this wee note inside it that said this person was returning the glass to Dunfermline Abbey, that they'd found it near some scaffolding outside the building and at some point and they'd taken it away and they wanted to return it to the Abbey.
No one in the congregation could work out to which window it had originally belonged. So the case was passed to a specialist who had experience of studying and repairing stained glass windows. She managed to match some of the artwork to the Margaret window, which had been installed in 1932.
And I knew it came from there because of this little fragment here with this little thistle motif. It was so distinctive. And then I managed to get hold of a bigger photo of the window, and I took pictures of all the pieces of glass, and I could kind of align them on it like a jigsaw.
Meanwhile, academics had been researching what work had been carried out at the Abbey since 1932.
The Kirk Session records revealed and confirmed that there had been quite a major restoration programme, 1999 to 2000, they called it the Millennium Restoration. That entire south window came out to be restored. We're wondering if what happened is that as they put the scaffolding up, they gather bits of glass, loose pieces, fallen pieces, they deposit it at the foot of the scaffold, along comes another workman, takes it.
Now that the mystery is solved, you can see the stained glass pieces for yourself. They're part of an exhibition about the Abbey, which is running at Dunfermline Library for the next 2 weeks. Richard Forbes, reporting Scotland.
Still to come, we will have the weekend weather with Chris, and we hear from Still Game star Jane McCarry about going it alone for her new comedy tour. But first of all, it's the sport with Lewis, and Lewis, we're still on a high after that Scotland win.
We are, Amy, but let's not get carried away now. It's only half-time. Good evening, everyone. Well, that is 3 wins on the bounce for Steve Clarke's Scotland. Croatia, Poland and now Greece have been beaten, but the head coach is urging his players to finish the job at Hampden when the Scots host the Greeks in the second leg of their Nations League playoff.
Second half, we know that the game at Hampden is going to be difficult because Greece are a good side. Their away record is in the group stage of the Nations League is a win in Ireland, a win in Finland, and
feel that they're in going into that tie.
Yeah, really good. I think obviously before we came away here, the squad was in a good place. Some good performances and results, and tonight will have helped that. So yeah, we'll go home and recover and go again in front of our home fans, which will be nice.
Well, look who's back. Dunfermline Athletic have appointed former Celtic and Hibernian manager Neil Lennon as their new boss on a short-term contract until the end of the season. Lennon, who left Scottish football in 2021, managed Celtic across 2 spells, winning 5 league titles. At Easter Road, he led the club to promotion in his first season in charge, back up to the top flight, before steering the club to European football the following campaign. Now, Murrayfield has been celebrating its centenary with Scots involved in some of the stadium's memorable events. On the 21st of March 1925, the first match took place, Scotland defeating England, some great pictures there, to win their first Grand Slam. Sheila McLaren caught up with 2 players who certainly made their mark at Murrayfield over the years.
Standing in the tunnel, waiting to run out, it's great, and just saying, standing in the pitch again after all these years, it's still a fantastic playing surface, probably the best in world rugby.
Do you agree?
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, it just brings back so many happy memories. A fantastic pitch. Great to see my old playing buddies again, and the likes of David Rollo, you know, who was one of my heroes when I was a kid. It's a great occasion and a great celebration.
Take us back then. What's it like leading a team out here?
Well, I think it's just such an honour. I mean, we all played the game because we loved it. We loved the challenge of it and so forth. But to run out here in front of your players, it's just such a fantastic honour. And I think we're very lucky to play when we did. It was just a great atmosphere and great memories.
Special memories and the special Grand Slam memory. I'm going to hazard a guess at favourite moments here.
Yeah, no, we were asked that earlier. First cap's a great occasion. It's such an honour for you and the family. But the Grand Slam in '84, yeah, because that was a long time coming. 1925 was the last slam, and I always felt it was for the country, all the Scottish rugby supporters. So, yeah, and you can imagine the celebrations afterwards.
Can you remember the scenes from the stands here?
Yes. At that time, all the kids could run on the pitch, so it was very difficult to get off the pitch. I remember that fine, and of course it was a great dressing room afterwards.
I read recently that the stadium was named after you for a bit by some in the French media.
Well, I don't know about that, yeah, for some reason, some of my better games were against France. They played a great brand of rugby. They would throw the ball around, and in fairness to John and I, loved that as well. You know, we loved a good open game, and the French games for some reason were always very exciting, whether it be here or even in Paris as well. Just great games.
Brilliant seeing some of those old pictures, isn't it, Amy? And nearby to there at the Hive Stadium tomorrow, the women's team will be in action at the rugby for the Six Nations. They get started against Wales. So
well, let's hope we're talking about Scotland wins across the board this weekend, Lewis. Football,
lovely.
rugby, it would be very nice.
We'd enjoy that.
Thank you.
Cheers, Amy.
Now it is Friday night, so it's time for our entertainment news. And we're joined by our entertainment reporter, Indigo Stafford. And Indigo, you've been speaking to, I think, somebody that we're all very fond of.
Yes, that's right. You might know her best as Isa from Still Game, but the actress Jane McCarry has a brand new solo show that she's touring all across Scotland, and I caught up with her to find out all about it.
Well, I saw that somebody had put a press release out and it said, Jane McCarry promises that you'll laugh more than you've ever laughed. And I went, oh no, is that a legal thing? I mean, is somebody going to come up and say, we never laughed, we thought that was red rotten, we want our money back. You categorically tell us we would laugh more than we've ever laughed. We never laughed.
Oh, Sinead, congratulations on your 1 year anniversary. That's flew in.
How did you know?
I just seen wee Fergie across the road. Was buying you something nice. Of course, I'll no see what it is. Flowers.
You're best known for your role of Isa. How much of her will you be bringing to the show?
I'm like Isa. I start off saying, well, I'll tell you this and then, oh, wait till I tell you. Oh, here, see this afternoon when I was in the Asda, this happened. Or it's more funny stories of things that happened and, like, you know, a wee clip that we've got of Mark when he missed his cue when he was supposed to be standing at the puggy and he wasn't, and it was me and Edith and Paul. So people like to see a wee bit of that.
One thing about you that I've always been fascinated by is that you're a teacher as well.
I love teaching, I genuinely do. And but when I went back into teaching after lockdown, well, during lockdown actually, it was an ASN school, so additional support needs, because it come to a point that I couldn't go into mainstream. It was a whole thing with the hydro, and they wanted to put Isa naked, the full size of the city chambers. So I had to go into the head teacher of a Catholic school and say to him, now, Mr. Lyons, I'm going to ask you a question you'll never have been asked before. Would you be okay with a member of your staff being naked on the side of the city chambers? And he said, no, really, no, that's a wee step too far.
I was wondering if you'd maybe like to pull in and get a cup of tea somewhere. Maybe a scone or sausage roll.
Sexy, but no. With the show on Netflix now, you were saying you're being recognised globally as well.
I think Barbados it was that Gavin said, and he went up to the bar and the guy said, 2 pints. We can't say the word on this. But Gavin's like, geez, I've got all this way. So yes, and yeah, I've been in New York and a policeman said they had a Still Game night in their precinct every week. All different places we've been recognised, and we've now been asked to go to Canada, New Zealand, Australia, anywhere where there's loads of expat.
With more appetite for the show than ever before, are we ever going to get a reboot or some sort of
Eyes in the weed in the shop?
Yes.
I know there's different ways that it could work, I guess, because we're all dead. And in a way, I think it could work if we did it again. But in a way, I love and I'm too protective of what we had. And I feel like you should always know when the right time is to walk away. And that was the right time.
It's too good. It's too good. People have to know.
You promised.
And exactly, Indigo, people do have to know, so where can they see Jane's new show?
The people had to know. So the show kicks off in Aberdeen and Inverurie this weekend, but she's doing 25 dates all across Scotland. So if you want to go along, you'd be struggling to not find her performing somewhere near you.
Indigo Stafford, thanks very much. Well, now it's time for the weather with our Christopher, and I think the question everyone will be wondering, I certainly am, is the sun going to continue and these lovely temperatures?
No.
Oh,
sorry.
He has to do it to us, doesn't he?
But let's take a look at some of the photos that did capture
Yes, let's do that.
Yes, thank you, Amy. Lots of pictures coming in from our weather watchers. Thanks for those. A great picture there from Stirlingshire earlier. Of course, the cherry blossom out as well, contrasted with the blue sky. That was very nice as well. But for many today, it was a little bit grey and cloudy, but it was mild. Let me show you exactly how mild it's been, because it's been the warmest day of the year so far. Latest suggestions are that we reached just about 20 degrees at Kinlochhew earlier, but you can see many areas mid to high teens. Tomorrow will be cooler. Now, over the next few days, we've got low pressure influencing conditions for a time, then the start of next week, high pressure, so it's dry and settled, and then low pressure returns, so it's a bit up and down, really. And first thing tomorrow, it's a cloudy and in places pretty wet start to your Saturday. Temperatures 8 or 9 Celsius, still quite breezy around the northeast coast for the likes of the Banff and Buchan coast up towards Orkney and Shetland. Showery outbreaks of rain too across the Highlands and Islands. Now, after that pretty wet start tomorrow morning, that rain should tend to become a little more light and patchy in nature. The cloud will thin and break, revealing some brightness, but that will trigger some sharp showers. Those could actually be thundery, and it will be cooler compared with today. Beyond that, for Sunday, we've got some overnight rain still with us initially in the morning, and then high pressure trying to move in, quietening things down. So, like Saturday, Sunday starts cloudy and damp, but that rain will tend to fizzle out, and then we're left with a legacy of cloud, overcast conditions, some sunshine on the west coast and through the Hebrides, and temperatures once again down a notch, 9 to 12 Celsius. So for the game on Sunday at Hampden, it should be largely dry at kick-off, fairly cloudy, the chance of a spot of light drizzle and a light wind coming in from the northeast. And then to next week, for many areas with high pressure building, it's dry and fine, but you can see a weather front bringing some rain in towards the far northwest. And you can see on the extended outlook that high pressure doesn't hang around through the mid to later stages of the week. Low pressure returns, and that means it will turn unsettled. Before we get there, though, there's Tuesday. High pressure still with us, so largely dry and settled, but the wind's coming in from the northwest, never a particularly warm direction. By the time we reach Wednesday, we start to see the Atlantic firing up weather fronts our way, and we'll see a return to more widespread rain. So you can see that on the outlook. For many, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday okay, then turning wet.
At least it makes it a little bit easier if you want to do your spring cleaning this weekend. You stay indoors.
Good excuse.
You don't want to go outside anyway. Christopher, thanks very much. And thanks very much to you as well for joining us on the programme. We have a big game in the Championship that follows us, Partick Thistle against Wraith Rovers, if you fancy that. But you have a lovely weekend. Thanks very much for watching. See you next week. Bye-bye.